There comes a moment in life when silence becomes louder than words, when the world around you keeps moving but you feel stuck in one place, waiting, hoping, wishing that someone will come and save you, guide you, hold your hand and say, "I am here for you, and I want you to understand this gently, with love." But with truth, no one is coming. Not because you are unworthy of help, but because you are stronger than you think. And life is trying to teach you something very important, that the most reliable help you will ever receive is the help you give yourself. We are taught to look outside, to expect motivation, support, validation, approval. But education is not just about degrees or classrooms. Education is learning how life works. And one of the most important lessons life teaches us is self-responsibility. When you keep waiting for people to understand your pain, you give them control over your healing. But the day you say, "I will understand myself," you take your power back. Pain does not come to destroy you. Pain comes to introduce you to yourself. It strips away comfort, excuses, and illusions. And what remains is truth, your strength, your resilience, your ability to survive even when you feel broken. And let me tell you something very clearly. Breaking does not mean failing. Breaking means you are human, but staying broken forever is a decision. And education of the soul is knowing when to rise again. You see, when no one helps you, something beautiful happens. You start listening to your own voice. You start observing your own patterns. You start learning what works for you and what doesn't. This is growth. This is awareness. This is emotional intelligence. And these are skills no school teaches, but life demands. People will misunderstand you. People will leave. People will disappoint you. And that is not your tragedy. Your tragedy is when you allow their absence to define your worth. You were not created to be dependent on applause. You were created to be purposeful, and purpose does not need permission. There will be days when you feel tired of being strong, and that is okay. Rest, breathe, cry if you must, but do not surrender your responsibility to someone else, because the moment you believe only I can save myself, you stop being a victim of circumstances and become a student of life. Education teaches us that solutions come from understanding problems, and your biggest problem is not that no one helps you. Your biggest problem is forgetting that you are capable of learning, adapting, rebuilding, and becoming more than your past. So today, do not ask who will help you. Ask who you are becoming, because when you choose yourself, when you stand up for your growth, when you take ownership of your healing, life responds, not with sympathy, but with strength. And that strength, that quiet, unshakable strength, is your real success. Remember, no one will help you. And that is not a curse. It is an invitation to rise, to learn, to grow, and to inspire yourself. Acceptance is not weakness. It is the bravest form of honesty you will ever practice with yourself. Because the moment you stop arguing with reality, you stop wasting energy on denial and start using that energy to grow. And listen carefully. Acceptance does not mean you like what happened to you. It means you understand that it happened, and now you are responsible for what you do next. Most people stay stuck, not because life is unfair, but because they keep asking life to be different, instead of asking themselves to become stronger. And this is where acceptance becomes power. When you accept your situation, your body stops resisting, your mind stops running in circles, and your heart starts listening. You begin to see clearly, and clarity is education. It teaches you where you are, what you have, and what you can build from here. You don't heal by pretending you're okay. You heal by saying, "This hurts, this is heavy, this is not what I planned, but this is what I have. And from this truth I will rise." Acceptance is not passive. It is active awareness. It is standing in front of the mirror of your life and saying, "This is me today, not forever, but today." And today is where change begins. When you don't accept reality, you keep blaming people, circumstances, destiny. And blame feels easy because it gives you an excuse to stay the same. But acceptance removes excuses. And that is why it feels uncomfortable. It hands you responsibility, and responsibility feels heavy only until you realize it gives you control. Life does not wait for you to feel ready. It teaches while it hurts. And acceptance is the lesson that turns pain into wisdom. The moment you accept your scars, They stop bleeding and start teaching you. They show you your limits, your strength, your resilience, and suddenly you are no longer ashamed of your story, you are educated by it. You must understand this deeply. Rejecting reality does not change it. It only delays your growth. But accepting reality gives you a starting point. And every transformation needs a starting point. Even rebuilding begins with acknowledging the ruins. Acceptance does not make you small. It makes you grounded. It connects you to the present moment. And the present moment is the only place where learning happens. You cannot educate yourself in yesterday's regret or tomorrow's fear. Growth lives in now. So when life pushes you into a corner, don't fight the walls. Look around and understand why you are there, what you are meant to learn, what part of you needs strengthening, what illusion needs to die. Because the moment you stop saying this should not have happened and start saying this happened, now teach me, you shift from suffering to strength, from helplessness to awareness, from surviving to becoming. Self-responsibility sounds harsh to people who are already tired, already wounded, already carrying more than their share. But listen to this with an open heart. Self-responsibility is not life being cruel to you, it is life trusting you. The moment you realize that no one is coming to fix everything for you, something shifts inside. You stop waiting at the door of hope and start building your own shelter, and that is freedom. When you keep expecting rescue, you silently give your power away. Every someone should help me turns into I cannot help myself, and that belief slowly weakens you. Not because it is true, but because you repeat it. Self-responsibility breaks that pattern. It tells you, maybe you didn't choose the pain, but you choose the response. And that choice is where your dignity lives. Education teaches us cause and effect. And life applies that lesson through responsibility. When you take ownership of your thoughts, your reactions, your habits, you stop being a victim of circumstances and become a participant in your own growth. And participation changes everything. Because now your life is not something that happens to you. It is something you actively shape. People will fail you, not always intentionally. Sometimes they are fighting their own battles. But when you make others responsible for your healing, you trap yourself in disappointment. Self-responsibility sets you free from that trap. It teaches you to say, I will not wait for understanding. I will understand myself. I will not wait for motivation. I will discipline myself, and discipline is a form of self-respect. There is a quiet strength in taking responsibility. It does not shout, it does not complain. It simply moves forward, step by step, even when the heart is tired, and that movement creates confidence. Not the loud kind, but the deep kind that says, whatever happens, I will handle it. And once you trust yourself like that, fear loses its power. Self-responsibility also means accepting your mistakes without drowning in guilt. Guilt keeps you stuck in the past. Responsibility pulls you into the present. It says, yes, you fell, now stand, learn, adjust, continue. This is education at its highest level, learning from experience instead of being ashamed of it. You don't need permission to take responsibility for your life. You don't need perfect conditions. You need a decision, the decision to stop outsourcing your strength. To stop waiting for life to be fair before you become strong, because fairness is not guaranteed, but growth is always available. When you accept responsibility, you stop asking why this happened to me, and start asking what this is teaching me. And that question alone transforms pain into purpose, weakness into wisdom, and struggle into structure. You realize that responsibility is not a burden placed on your shoulders. It is the ground beneath your feet, steady, firm, allowing you to stand on your own and move forward without waiting for rescue. Pain is not proof that something is wrong with you. Pain is proof that something is changing you. But most people panic when pain arrives. They rush to numb it, hide it, or escape it, and in doing so they miss the lesson it came to deliver. Because pain, when understood, is one of life's most honest teachers. Think about it. Nothing truly educates you until it touches you deeply. Books can inform you, advice can guide you, but pain transforms you, it slows you down, it forces you to reflect. It asks questions you were too busy to ask when life was comfortable, and those questions are not meant to punish you. They are meant to wake you up. When pain enters your life, it exposes truth. It shows you where you were pretending, where you were settling, where you were ignoring your own needs. It strips away illusions and leaves you face to face with yourself. And that moment can feel terrifying, but it is also sacred, because self-awareness begins where comfort ends. You must stop treating pain like an enemy. Enemies are fought, teachers are listened to, and pain speaks quietly at first, through discomfort, through restlessness, through emotional heaviness. But when ignored, it raises its voice, not because it is cruel, but because you are not paying attention. And education always repeats itself until it is learned. Pain teaches boundaries. It teaches you what you can no longer tolerate, what you must protect, and what you need to change. It teaches empathy, because once you have suffered, you become softer toward others, less judgmental, more human. And that emotional intelligence is a form of wisdom no classroom can provide. But here is the most important lesson. Pain teaches. Resilience is not about never hurting. Resilience is about not letting pain make you bitter. It is about allowing pain to refine you instead of harden you. And that choice is yours. Pain gives you information, not instructions. You decide how to use it. There will be moments when pain makes you feel small, broken, tired of trying. And in those moments, remind yourself that learning is rarely comfortable. Growth stretches you, reshapes you, challenges your identity. And pain is often the sign that an old version of you is being released to make space for something stronger. If you sit with your pain instead of running from it, it begins to teach you patience, humility, and strength. It shows you that healing is not instant, it is intentional, and intention is the foundation of transformation. Do not ask why pain chose you, ask what it is trying to teach you. Because the moment you shift from resisting pain to understanding it, you stop being a victim of suffering and become a student of life, and a student who listens never leaves a lesson empty-handed. You are allowed to break, and I need you to hear this without guilt, without shame, without that harsh inner voice telling you to be strong all the time, because strength does not mean being unbreakable. Strength means being honest about when you are hurting, when you are tired, when you cannot carry everything at once. Life will push you to limits you did not know existed. And when you reach those limits, something inside you may collapse. Your confidence, your plans, your expectations, even your sense of self. And that does not mean you failed. It means you reached the edge of what the old version of you could handle, and edges are where growth begins. Breaking is not the end of the story. It is the pause between chapters. It is the moment where life says, stop, look, feel, learn. Most people fear breaking because they think it makes them weak, but pretending you are fine while you are falling apart is what actually drains your strength. Honesty restores it. When you break, you learn what truly matters, the unnecessary falls away, the noise quiets, and you are left with essentials, your values, your boundaries, your faith in yourself. This is education through experience, not theory, and it teaches you more about life than success ever could. But here is the line. You must not cross. You are allowed to break, but you are not allowed to give up on yourself. Quitting is not rest. Quitting is surrendering your future to a moment of pain, and you are bigger than this moment, even if you cannot feel it right now. Rest is not weakness. Slowing down is not failure. Asking for space is not defeat. But staying in the belief that this is all you will ever be is dangerous. Pain lies when it tells you this will never pass. But everything in life is temporary except the lessons you carry forward. You must treat your broken moments with compassion, not criticism. Talk to yourself like you would talk to someone you love, with patience, with kindness, with understanding. Because the way you speak to yourself while broken determines how you will rebuild. And you will rebuild, not into the same person you were before, but into someone wiser, more grounded, more aware, someone who knows their limits and respects them. Someone who understands that strength is not loud. It is steady. It is showing up again even after you have fallen apart. So when you find yourself breaking, do not panic, do not judge, do not quit, breathe, feel, learn. And then, when the time is right, stand up again. Not because life became easy, but because you decided your story does not end in pieces. The world is loud, and it will always try to tell you who you should be, how fast you should move, what success should look like. And if you are not careful, that noise will slowly silence the most important voice you have, your own. And the moment you stop listening to yourself, you start living someone else's expectations. Your inner voice is not random. It is built from your experiences, your values, your intuition, and your lessons. It is educated by every fall, every win, every moment you survived when you thought you couldn't. But when you constantly seek approval, you turn that voice down. You start doubting what you know, what you feel, what you sense. And doubt is how confidence leaks away quietly. Advice is Eve. Rye where opinions are free and criticism is loud. But wisdom requires filtering. Not every voice deserves access to your mind. And this is where self-trust becomes essential. When your inner voice is stronger than the world, you can listen without losing yourself. You can learn without shrinking, and you can grow without confusion. Education teaches us critical thinking, and your life demands the same skill. You must question what you hear, observe how it makes you feel, and decide what aligns with your truth. Because not everything that sounds confident is correct, and not everything that feels right will be popular. There will be moments when your inner voice whispers instead of shouts, especially after failure, rejection, or loss. And in those moments, the world will rush in with doubt, fear, and comparison. But this is exactly when you must lean inward. Trust is built in quiet decisions, not loud declarations. Listening to yourself does not mean ignoring reality. It means understanding it through your own lens. It means asking yourself, what do I need right now? What am I learning? What is this moment asking of me? And those questions educate your emotional intelligence, teaching you how to respond instead of react. When your inner voice is strong, you stop chasing validation. You stop explaining yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. You move with intention, not pressure, and intention creates consistency, which is the foundation of growth. But this strength does not come overnight. It is built by keeping small promises to yourself, by choosing discipline over mood, by respecting your boundaries, and by forgiving yourself when you fall short Instead of attacking yourself, self-respect amplifies your inner voice. The world will always have opinions, trends, and noise, but none of it knows your journey like you do. None of it feels your battles or carries your dreams, so do not give it authority over your direction. Listen, learn, but decide for yourself, because when your inner voice leads, you walk with clarity instead of confusion, with courage instead of fear, and with purpose instead of pressure. Purpose does not arrive when life becomes easy. It arrives when excuses stop protecting your comfort and start exposing your potential. Because as long as you have excuses, you have a hiding place. And growth never visits places where you are hiding. Excuses sound logical, they sound reasonable, they sound like self-defense. But most of the time they are fear-wearing intelligent language, fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of responsibility. And every time you say, I can't because of this or that, you delay the moment your life actually begins. Education teaches us accountability, but life demands it. Purpose is not something you find. It is something you step into, and you cannot step forward while pointing backward. Excuses keep your eyes on what you lack instead of what you can build. The truth is harsh, but liberating. Many people don't lack talent, opportunity, or intelligence. They lack ownership. They keep waiting for the perfect time, the perfect support, the perfect conditions, not realizing that purpose grows through imperfect action, not perfect planning. When excuses die, responsibility is born, and responsibility forces clarity. You stop asking why this happened to me and start asking, what am I going to do with this? And that question changes everything. It turns pain into direction, confusion into focus, and struggle into structure. Purpose is not loud. It doesn't announce itself with fireworks. It shows up quietly the moment you decide to stop running from your life, the moment you accept that no one owes you rescue. And that realization is not depressing, it is empowering. Because now your future is in your hands. Excuses keep you emotionally dependent. Purpose makes you internally driven. When you drop excuses, you stop negotiating with your limitations, you start working with your strengths, and even your weaknesses begin to teach you where you need discipline, patience, or courage. There will always be reasons to stop, slow down, or stay where you are, and the world will even support your excuses because they make people comfortable. But purpose makes people uncomfortable, including you, because it demands consistency, sacrifice, and self-honesty. Purpose grows when you show up even when motivation disappears. When you act even when confidence is low. When you choose progress over perfection. And these choices educate your character, not just your skills. The moment you stop explaining why you can't and start committing to how you will, life responds differently, opportunities align, clarity sharpens, and your identity begins to shift from someone who survives circumstances to someone who shapes them. You don't wake up one day with purpose fully formed. You build it daily by refusing excuses, by honoring effort, by staying responsible for your direction, and by choosing growth even when it hurts. Because purpose is not a gift given to the lucky, it is the reward earned by those who stop running from their own potential.